President Trump is a moron. I can't. You know what? I can't even put it any other way.
You say fill in the blank. You say President Trump, because I think you knew in your mind, like, you know what? You can put anything right there.
The dude is an imbecile. So here is President Trump at a rally in Tampa, Florida.
In some states, Democrats are even trying to give illegal immigrants the right to vote. They want to give them the right to vote. And what about all of those people that are waiting online for 7, 8, 9, 10 years, trying to get into our country? They don't have the right to vote. We believe that only American citizens should vote in American elections. Which is why the time has come for voter ID, like everything else. Voter ID. If you go out and you want to buy groceries, you need a picture on a card. You need ID. You go out and you want to buy anything, you need ID and you need your picture. In this country, the only time you don't need it, in many cases, is when you want to vote for a president, when you want to vote for a senator, when you want to vote for a governor or a congressman. It's crazy. It's crazy.
If we actually look at the facts, right, when it comes to the supposed influx of illegals or people who are non-citizens voting, it simply is not there. So if the data doesn't support that position, then usually there's some sort of nefarious reason why that is being pushed. Mm-hmm. Usually it involves voter suppression. You know what I'm saying? Because if the data doesn't support this concept of illegals voting, people who are undocumented or non-citizens voting, then there has to be something else behind it. Something historically relevant, historically true.
Is that the case?
You know it's a damn case. You know it's a damn case. You know it's the case. They're trying to kind of use this as some sort of like some sort of linchpin in a sense. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to use this as some sort of, I guess, pin that he's pulling out the grenade to kind of blow up, I guess our electoral system in some kind of way. Or to justify adding some sort of restriction that's going to make it hard on a certain segment of people. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because this is all surrounding reactionary politics, reaction to demographics changing, reaction to the voter base changing. We've done stories countless times about officials pretty much coming out and saying that we have to do something about this demographic change. Right. And what do you do to kind of keep your power, keep the same people in power? What do you do? How do you solve this demographic problem? How do you solve this representative problem? Because essentially the people who vote these representatives in. So what do? You suppress the vote of a certain group of people.
Voter fraud is a fallacy. It has not been proven. There is no rampant abuse of our voter system. People that are here illegally and are voting. Now, Trump has made the claim before that thousands of undocumented immigrants voted illegally in the 2016 election. Was that true? There's been no evidence to suggest it. And actually, when you talk about voter fraud, there's only been like a few select cases where there was somebody that actually did it.
And who did those cases surround? And who did those cases surround? They did not surround people who are not citizens.
No. They surrounded people that were actually citizens.
Sometimes like representatives.
Yeah. But anyway, so you heard at the beginning, though. This is where I want to go. So at the beginning, he said something like in some states, Democrats are trying to give undocumented immigrants the right to vote. Now, that's a loaded statement. It's partially true. It's partially true, but the way he said it, he's trying to convey something that's absolutely a lie. So there are a few towns in America that gives certain undocumented immigrants the right to vote in like municipal elections. So San Francisco gives certain undocumented immigrants the right to vote in elections like the school board elections. There's certain towns, or actually there's multiple towns in Maryland where they give certain undocumented immigrants the right to vote in their local elections. But again, you have to go to like what actually Donald Trump was trying to convey here. He said that you need what we need in this country is an ID to vote in these elections, right? Mm-hmm. Now, if you do establish that law in place where in every single election you have to have an ID, is that going to prevent these particular undocumented immigrants from voting in their local communities for the school board or whatever? No, it's not.
And
no, it's not at all.
And it also...
Because the laws have been passed for them in those localities.
Okay, so what you're saying is, like, even if he's referring to that, it still wouldn't, like, be something to include, like, within this kind of speech. Nor would it be something to include within this type of initiative, because... what he's getting at is people who are voting when they're not supposed to.
Right.
That's not the case. That's what you're talking about.
That's what I'm saying. Like the whole setup was fraudulent. And again, and I'll point out that in these locales where there are undocumented immigrants that have been provided the right to vote in certain elections, these are local elections. We're not talking about state elections. We're not talking about federal elections, because you do have to be a citizen to vote in those elections. And there's no Democrats that I haven't seen a push about this or anything. There's no Democrats that I have seen that are pushing for undocumented immigrants to vote in state elections or federal elections.
So to me, this is not just about him being an idiot, actually. It's not just about him being a numbskull.
No, it's that, but yeah, like you said, it's not just that. It's very sinister.
It's very sinister, and it's not like one of these talking points he's using to just make himself feel better, to better his ego. I don't think it would be worth talking about, because he's always making comments like that and tweeting in regards to how good he is and how wonderful he is and how smart he is and how stable genius he is. Those are really not noteworthy, but now you're talking about like stirring an environment in order to push some policy.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? A policy that's based on essentially not fallacy. So then we do have a problem here. And so we have a bunch of people like cheering for it. And I'm pretty sure there are people who are not at that rally who are probably cheering for it too. And so I think that's the biggest part of this rally. The buying or having to have ID for groceries, that's probably just the icing on the cake,
right,
or the cherry on top. You know what I'm saying?
It's such an idiotic cherry, though. I mean, and then the people that are actually providing excuses for that statement, too.
Remember he was talking about alcohol. Well, then that has to do with the product and not ID, though.
Oh, and then, again... he's talking about in every situation, right? Having an ID when you vote.
He said buy.
You have to have an ID every time you go to the grocery store?
Remember, he didn't, again, they're purposefully keying on the word groceries, because that way they can kind of deflect to, well, maybe he was talking about alcohol. But even that's dumb, because that has to do with like verifying the age of somebody, right, and not whether they're here legally or not whether they're a citizen.
Could somebody that is not a citizen buy alcohol here? Yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't make sense. And again, to focus on groceries is purposeful, because he said anything. He said anything. ID to buy anything. So that kind of destroys that argument. Well, maybe he was talking about alcohol. Maybe he was talking about just checks. That's a method of payment. Now you're talking about methods of payment. He's actually talking about goods, products. Yes. So it doesn't make sense. So we now have a wouldn't situation now.
Yes.
You know
Idiots.